Today, I'm busy in my kitchen showing you ways that you can use up that leftover Thanksgiving turkey, which you might have over the next week. I love cooking during the holidays and those days after the holidays when things are a little bit slower and you have some leftover food or some things to prepare, and that's exactly what I'm doing in this video. I have some recipes to share with you that are totally not boring and will get you excited to get busy in the kitchen. I'm sure we've all made turkey sandwiches after Thanksgiving before, but I'm putting my own spin on it, and this is a fresher version of your classic turkey sandwich. I'm also making some home-style pasta to go in some turkey noodle soup and some other delicious recipes. So get cozy in the kitchen with me today, and let's enjoy the holidays together. All right, so this video comes out the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm assuming that after tomorrow, you're gonna have some leftover turkey to deal with, and I love that problem. And so in this video, I thought I would show you some ideas and recipes on how to use up that turkey. The first thing I wanted to say is to make sure you save the bones of that turkey so you can make a big batch of stock. Now, you obviously do not need a pot this large. I just got this for myself because I wanted to make larger batches and can them, but this one was pretty affordable on Amazon, so I went ahead and got it, and I'll get to use that for the first time today. Funny story, when I first started getting into cooking from scratch and learned about making your own stock, my family made fun of me because every holiday, especially Thanksgiving, I made sure that everyone gave me the bones and that no one threw them away, and it kind of became a joke that Christine would take our trash. But the thing is, it's not trash. It is definitely treasure. So I'm gonna start this morning by making some stock, some rich turkey stock, and then I'm gonna make soup with it, and then I'll make some other things too. So let's get started. So I actually made a turkey yesterday just for this video. We were able to enjoy that last night, and now I have all the bones here. I'm so excited because I'm all out of stock and I just wanna refill my stock of stock. All right, so it's really the simplest thing you can make, but it allows you to stretch your budget. I feel like you can stretch a meal so much further if you have a rich, nutritious, delicious, homemade stock to work with. I have all my bones here. I've gotten most of the meat off of it, and you could rinse them to get like some of the fat off. You could also roast them, but you know, I already cooked these yesterday in the oven when I cooked the turkey, and they're looking pretty roasty as it is, at least parts of it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in the pot. It's nice that I have a large pot because normally turkey is a little hard to fit in a smaller stock pot. And in that case, I would suggest you like just break them in half or use half the amount of bones. For reference, this is the other pot I use. And that's what I normally use for my stock. So this is a major upgrade for me. I'm gonna put some veggies in here and then we'll fill it up with water. This is a great opportunity to use any veggie scraps in your fridge. I also like to keep a bag in the freezer of veggie scraps, so those get collected over time, and then when I make stock, I just dump them in the pot. I almost forgot that I had this. So when I spatchcocked the turkey, I took the spine out and I froze it along with the wingtips. I clipped those off. So I have a little collection here of raw turkey bits. And it is good to have a mix of the raw meat that hasn't been cooked and also the roasted bones. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these. And you really want as many bones as possible to get a rich stock. So I'm glad I have this. I'm gonna move on. I thought it'd be fun to make turkey sandwiches and put my own spin on it. Yesterday I prepared this dough. It's for sourdough ciabatta. I've never made ciabatta before, so not super sure if it's gonna turn out, but I guess we'll find out together. In true Christine's Notebook fashion, I guess. In case you're curious, this recipe is from The Perfect Loaf. I use this book a lot for, here's the picture. Ah, there it is. There's the picture. I use this book a lot for referencing kind of the general way to make sourdough, different types of sourdough breads. And then I decide after looking at the directions if I want to follow these directions or kind of follow sort of my own way of doing it. But it's a great guidebook for kind of like lots of different types of sourdough breads that you can make. I am following that recipe exactly today, except I added a little bit extra freshly milled flour. I can't remember the exact ratio, but I think I did about 150 grams of freshly milled flour and then about 350 grams of all-purpose. Okay, so for ciabatta, you're not supposed to like work the dough too much. You're supposed to just kind of like not even shape it. So I'm quite curious about this. So I'm supposed to divide this in half and then divide each piece into 3. So it's only gonna make 6 ciabatta rolls, but they're gonna be fairly large. So I think that each kid will probably split 1 turkey sandwich. Trying to make it even, this is not easy. Do that. And then you just kind of plop it on the tray. That's it. No shaping. I think you're just supposed to try to get it into like a rectangle shape. After adding these to a sheet pan, I'm gonna let them rise for another hour or so. You want them to look more bubbly and puffy and aerated. You don't wanna handle the dough too much. I'm just trying to stretch it a little bit to get an even shape. But for the most part, you don't wanna press these down, flatten them, or overwork them. The recipe says to put the entire sheet pan in a plastic bag, but who has a bag that big? So I just use a towel. All right, the next thing I wanna make is turkey tetrazzini. This is a recipe from the Pioneer Woman. I found it many, many years ago. The Pioneer Woman is like my OG. She's like the one who kind of got me into cooking. I think I've said that before, but when I was like a brand new wife and mother, I just didn't know how to cook. So I learned little by little through her blog and through other resources. And so I love this recipe. It's very simple. It uses the leftover turkey. I don't have the recipe in front of me, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up and save it to my ReciMe app. And I've told you guys about this app before. It's so convenient. If you find a recipe you love on a blog, on Instagram, on TikTok, any of those places, you can share the recipe to the app. It will transcribe it and save it as a recipe card. And then you have all these recipes saved that you can organize. It's really helpful because otherwise without the app, you would have to kind of manually copy and paste, save to a document, print it out. It's just a lot. So ReciMe makes saving recipes incredibly easy. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up right now and show you how it works. I'm going to pull up the recipe from her blog. There are a lot of food blogs that I follow, so this is a great way to organize the recipes that you want to try. So you can click share and share it with the app, and then it's going to go ahead and import it. You'll see the recipe card. You can also save recipes from social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok, and I haven't seen another recipe app that does this. It doesn't like go black on you when the app is up, so you can actually have the recipe on display, which I'm going to do today. if you're interested in trying out ReciMe, you can get a 2-week free trial of ReciMe Plus if you use the link in my description. So definitely go check them out, see what you think. I think it's gonna make your life a lot easier and help you to stay organized. For this recipe, you're gonna start by quartering a pound of mushrooms. Instead of washing them with water, I just like to wipe them off with a paper towel. I'm getting all my ingredients ready. I need a cup of white wine and then 8 ounces of cream cheese. I bought this giant container of cream cheese from Costco because it was on sale, so I'm really excited that I'm able to put it to use. I have frozen garlic, minced garlic in the freezer. I'm just gonna take some out. I'm gonna need 4 minced cloves of garlic here, and I'm just kind of guessing. And then I need 4 tablespoons of butter. I also need a can of black olives, so I'm gonna go ahead and drain this out. My daughter loves these olives and could eat a whole can of them, so she's gonna be excited to have these in this recipe. Go ahead and chop those up nice and finely. I'm just gonna put those in a bowl and set them aside. My chicken stock is simmering away beautifully. All right, so I just noticed that this recipe calls for bacon, only 4 slices of bacon. I forgot about that, and my bacon is in the freezer, and I just don't think I want to take it out, thaw it, and cook it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip the bacon. But normally you would have 4 slices of bacon, cook it nice and crispy, crumble it into little bacon bits, and we're gonna include that into the casserole. I'm just gonna skip it. Go ahead and saute those mushrooms in the 4 tablespoons of butter. In past videos, I've showed you a trick where I microwave the mushrooms first to get rid of the juice, but you don't have to do that. I just like to do that sometimes to speed up the process. It's actually a good idea to keep the juice in those mushrooms, which a commenter did remind me about, because there's nutrition in there. So we're gonna saute these mushrooms the traditional way today, and I added a ½ teaspoon of salt. We're gonna let those start to brown before we add the garlic. You're gonna wanna grate a cup of Monterey Jack cheese and a cup of Parmesan cheese. Oh no, darn it. Grating cheese is definitely one of my least favorite kitchen tasks. I don't like dealing with the cleanup. It's just not easy to clean up shredded cheese. It smears into everything and it gets everywhere. But we're done with that now. I've got that cheese set aside, ready to go. My mushrooms are looking browned and beautiful, so I just added the frozen minced garlic, and that will thaw pretty quickly and cook very fast. So I'll just saute that for a minute or 2, and then I'm gonna add in a cup of white wine. Let that cook until it's reduced by half. And now going back to my chicken stock, as it's simmering, take a ladle and skim off the scum that rises to the top of the broth. I don't have a lot showing up right now, but as it cooks, you'll start to see a foam or just some undesirable parts. Go ahead and scoop those up. I have a bowl next to the stock pot just for this purpose. So in the end, you're gonna have a really clean stock instead of a cloudy one. The wine has now reduced to about half, and so I'm gonna add in a 1/3 cup of flour and just give that a minute, stir it around and give it a minute for the flour to cook. I also have a big pot of water here that I'm about to boil, and then I'll cook the pasta. And since my broth isn't fully ready, I'm just gonna take it from this pot and put it into this one. And I need about, how many cups of broth do I need? 4 cups of broth. This is gonna slowly thicken. I'm gonna add 1 cup at a time. I think I'm happy with that amount of broth. I'm just gonna give this a minute to thicken before I add in the cream cheese and everything else. Here's all that leftover turkey. I'm gonna put some on a cutting board and chop it up. You want about 3 cups of chopped up or shredded leftover turkey. I'm also gonna boil some pasta. I have a pot of water that's already boiling, so I'm gonna add some pasta. And I always salt the water really well when I boil pasta, so I added a small handful of salt to that water. Now I'm gonna add the olives and the cream cheese to the mushroom mixture. You can just kind of break up the cream cheese into pieces and mix it in, and it's okay if it doesn't perfectly incorporate. Even if there's like small little chunks, that's okay. Then add a 1.5 cups of frozen peas, all of the cheese and the turkey, and give that a good stir. I like to give my food a little love pat sometimes when I'm cooking, and I don't know why I do that. Someone please tell me why I do that, but I didn't notice it until I started filming myself. Does anyone else like pat their food, their chicken, or their bread dough when they move on from working with it? I would love to know. So I added a little bit of salty pasta water just to thin this out. You do want it to be soupy so that it doesn't get dry when you bake it. All right, let's try this. Incredible flavor. This is just like rich in flavor with the cream cheese, the Parmesan, the turkey stock, the butter, mushrooms, the wine, all of that, even the olives. It's gonna taste really good. Go ahead and pour that sauce into the pasta and get it all combined. This is definitely a comfort food dish, and if you're sick of comfort food the day after Thanksgiving, just wait a few days before you make this. But it's definitely one of those recipes I love to make after Thanksgiving, and I try to make sure I have a little extra turkey. Even if you don't have the full 3 cups, it's worth it to save some to make this recipe later. Use the rest. Bake it at 350 for about 20 to 30 minutes until the panko breadcrumbs are looking golden and crispy. I moved my ciabatta rolls right near the stove because they don't seem to be responding very well. Like, they're not rising at all. And so I'm hoping that if I just put them by the heat, they'll start fermenting more, there'll be some more bubbles, and hopefully we'll have some beautiful ciabatta rolls. But yeah, I have it near the stove, obviously being careful not to bring it too close to the fire here, but hopefully that works. I'm really excited about this next recipe I'm gonna make, but first I need to mill some flour. I just got these new containers to hold grains right near my mill. I used to take my scale to the laundry room and measure it out on the floor because that's where I keep the extra large containers of grains. I buy them in bulk, but now it's so much easier. I'm weighing out 4 ounces of Kamut, and I'm gonna mill that as finely as I can because I'm gonna make some pasta. If you're interested in getting into milling your own flour, I recommend my mill. It's kind of a middle range as far as pricing for mills, but it's also beautiful. I love to keep it on my counter, and it's been working great for me for many years. They go in and out of stock often, so just keep an eye on it. I left a link in the description. So in this bowl, I'm weighing out 4 ounces of freshly milled Kamut flour and 4 ounces of all-purpose flour. I'm actually going to transfer that to a larger bowl because it's easier to mix pasta dough in a large and wide bowl. But before I can really get any work done, I need to first do some dishes and just clear my area so I can kind of focus on the next task. Now for this homemade pasta. So in the middle of the flour, you want to kind of make a well, and then add 1 whole egg and 6 egg yolks. I'm cracking the egg into a separate bowl and just scooping out the yolk. This is going to be a beautiful enriched pasta, perfect for chicken noodle soup, or in this case, we're making turkey noodle soup. While I was working on this, the timer went off for my casserole, so I pulled that out of the oven and it looks beautiful. I'm gonna save this for dinner for another night this week because tonight I wanna have the turkey soup. So into the eggs, add 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil and then 1 tablespoon of milk. And with your hands, kind of swirl that together to incorporate the flour and the egg mixture slowly until you get almost all of it mixed up, but you're still gonna have a lot of dry bits. So then I like to transfer it to the counter and start kneading it all together. And just a little tip for the married ladies, take off your rings for this part, put it somewhere safe because this is hard to clean off of your rings. And now you're gonna wanna put some muscle into this and knead this dough for 5 to 10 minutes until it looks smooth and elastic. I actually really enjoy this process. It reminds me of old Italian grandmothers who have been doing this for generations, and those are the people who are cool in my book. Something about this process just feels really human, just kneading dough. I don't know. When you're done, shape it into a rectangle and wrap it in some plastic wrap and let it rest at room temperature for at least 10 minutes. If you can't get to it right away, you can also put it in the fridge for up to 24 hours. For the ciabatta rolls, I put a pizza stone in the oven and preheated it for about 45 minutes to 450. And you're supposed to put the baking tray just right on the stone and give the oven a spritz of water to create some steam. When I got this Anka mixer, I got the pasta roller at the same time because one of the things I regretted with my KitchenAid is never purchasing that attachment. It's something I've wanted to use for a long time. So when you unwrap your dough, you're gonna divide it into 4 sections and just press the section down a little bit with your palms. With the roller, you wanna start on the thickest setting or on 0 for this one, and pass the pasta through. Don't tug it, don't push it, just let it go through. And then flour it a little tiny bit each time so it doesn't stick. And then move the settings down a notch each time you do a pass through until it's as thin as you want it. Doing it slowly like this is part of the kneading process for the dough, so you don't want to rush it. Just go notch by notch until you've reached the thinness that you want. Mine was super easy to roll out. It didn't break. I loved the texture of this. Once you're done, you can cut it into whatever shape you want and cook it right away. It only takes like 2 minutes to cook in boiling water. You can also freeze pasta after it's already been rolled out and cut into your desired shape, and it cooks up just like fresh pasta. All right, see how these look. I don't know. Okay. I feel like they're hard. All right, well, these ciabatta rolls they did rise. They feel pretty hard. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil on each one and then sprinkle it with salt. I'm hoping that, I don't know, maybe softens it. Okay, let those cool. Oven off. So now that you've seen me make pasta, I'm almost finished with it. My philosophy is that you should make more of it and make it often. I'm especially excited to have found a recipe that really works for me. I modified a recipe from the French laundry cookbook. I actually just stumbled upon it on the Smitten Kitchen blog, and I decided to use half Kamut flour. I want to do 100% Kamut flour, but I've done that before and I didn't love the texture as much. So I'm still playing around with a recipe that is 100% freshly milled flour. But I think this is a great middle ground and it held together beautifully. And I decided to cut these into home style noodles. I wanted them to be kind of chunkier and more rustic. So I was going for kind of like large rectangles. And then with the rest of the sheets, I just cut them so that they would fit in a casserole dish and froze them. So I'm going to use those later for a lasagna. And remember all of those egg whites? Well, they did not go to waste. I used all of them in an omelet for lunch, so I had a super high protein lunch. I added some cheese for some extra flavor. The last time I made pasta, I did the same thing and I served it with avocado, and it was pretty much a perfect lunch. Sometimes you need high protein to keep you going, especially when you're planning to eat lots of carbs for dinner. It's all about balance, right? So my ciabatta rolls are cooling, the casserole is cooling, I'll put those away later. The turkey stock is still simmering away, and my pasta is ready for turkey soup. All right, so I had my lunch break and a cup of coffee. I know I normally film my coffee break, but today I just took a moment to myself. And my ciabatta rolls look pretty good, but I'm not gonna make turkey sandwiches today because we already have this casserole that I made, and I'm gonna make turkey soup. So I'm gonna save the turkey sandwiches for tomorrow. For the turkey soup, I'm not gonna wait until the stock is completely finished. I'm gonna let it simmer probably a few more hours, and then I'll let it cool down completely. But I'm not gonna wait that long to make my soup, so instead I'll just kind of scoop it out and make the soup right now. And that's what I would do typically on the day after Thanksgiving anyways. So you got one pot of stock going and one pot of soup going, and it adds just like coziness to the home. You have soup simmering away for dinner, you have stock simmering away for later, and it's a great feeling. So I do love the holidays and I love cooking around the holidays, and I love it when my kids are here and there's activity in the house, and it's just a good feeling. So we're just gonna bottle up that feeling today and enjoy a day in the kitchen cooking. Throughout the day, I'll revisit my stock pot and skim the top off. And as you can see, there's a lot of gunk and stuff I don't want in the finished product. So that's why it's nice to do this. For the turkey soup, I'm just making it up as I go. I usually use whatever veggies I have on hand, hopefully carrots, celery, and onion, because that makes a great base for any soup. And I'm gonna start by sauteing all these veggies in some butter. I like to add about a half teaspoon of salt when I'm sauteing the veggies, and then I'll cover it up and let it sort of sweat and saute for about 7 minutes. You want it to darken a little bit and caramelize a bit. And then I added in the garlic and a half teaspoon of pepper, about a teaspoon of dried dill. And then I'm gonna add in about a 1/4 cup of white wine and let that all reduce a little bit. You can also sprinkle in some flour here if you want, and that will kind of cause the soup to thicken up a little bit when you add the broth. And then I added in the turkey and some more frozen peas since I had some left over. And then I'll add in the broth straight from the stock pot. If you're worried about any residue, you can just pour it straight through a colander. But I like doing this because I'm cooking the stock, but I'm also making dinner at the same time. And at the end of the day, I will have fed my family, and I can refill that pot with more water and still have the same amount of stock. I'm gonna season my pasta water with a small handful of kosher salt so that when that cooks, it will keep the pasta nice and flavorful. I haven't really added any salt to the soup yet, so I'm gonna taste that, see how it is, because it's hard for me to gauge it when I'm making stock from a turkey that had lots of salt on it. So then just season your soup to taste. Now I'm trying to thicken the soup a little bit, and I'm trying out this technique where you mix butter and flour to make a paste, and then you kind of add it in bit by bit and mix it into the soup, and it's supposed to thicken it similar to a roux, but different. So I'm just trying that out. And my pasta sheets were kind of drying out on the counter for the past hour or so, so I'm just gonna package those up. I have a large Ziploc bag here, and that will go into the freezer. I'm excited to use that later. So now I'm going to boil this pasta. It only takes about 2 minutes. I'll use a spider skimmer to fish it out and put it into a bowl and set that aside. You can also just cook it right inside the pot of soup if you're planning on eating it pretty quickly. I just don't know if we're going to be eating all of it tonight, so I thought I would play it safe and put it in a separate bowl. I'm just mixing it up with some butter so it doesn't stick. And then over to my soup pot, I'm going to skim off the top fat here that's separated out because I pulled the stock straight from the stock pot. You still have that residual fat left over, and I just don't want too much of that in the soup. Nobody wants to slurp down like a greasy soup. So I just try to take some of that out, and then I added some more dill. And now I'm trying out this paste to see how it does with thickening up this soup a little bit. I don't know if it really did much. I probably didn't add enough of it, but I was worried to add too much because I didn't know how this would work. But I think it did thicken it up just a little bit. This pasta is amazing. It holds its shape. It's like an enriched pasta, so it's perfect for turkey noodle soup and chicken noodle soup like we're doing today, and it's quite delicious. Like, it has flavor all on its own. You could eat this with butter and salt, and that would be a good dinner all in itself. I only made a small batch tonight because I want to eat it while it's fresh. So I'm just going to serve a little bit of the noodles inside each soup bowl. That way it stays nice and sturdy. I haven't tested putting the noodles directly in the soup. I think if we were serving it like right now, and we were gonna eat the whole thing tonight, then definitely do that. But because I'm not serving it right away, and I think we're gonna have leftovers for tomorrow, I'm not gonna add the pasta to the soup. This has thickened up a little bit. And now, I'm just gonna let that simmer down a little bit, and then I'm gonna add some cream and lemon juice and the pasta, and that's about it. Got my flavor boosters. I'm gonna turn the heat off. And you always wanna add in the lemon juice at the last minute because lemon juice can become bitter if you cook it for a long time. You wanna add about a half cup of cream. Silly me, I had half and half and did not realize it. And then do about a tablespoon of lemon juice. This just finishes it off, but if you use half and half or milk, it will cause it to curdle. Okay, let's plate it up. You can't really tell that much, but my broth did curdle just a little bit. So, this is not a perfect soup by any means, but because of the homemade stock and the homemade pasta, just all the flavors in this came together so beautifully, so hearty and nourishing. I mean, you really can't go wrong, when you make your own homemade soup. And you don't need to do homemade pasta. You can just throw regular pasta in there too, and I promise you, you will still love it. Everyone will love it. So later that evening, after my stock cooled down completely, I poured it through a colander into another stainless steel pot. I have 2 of those, so I was able to fit all of the broth into those 2 containers. And then tomorrow morning, my plan is to can some of this turkey stock so that it's shelf stable and I can just keep it in my pantry. You gotta really put your muscle into it when you pick up this big stock pot. And this is the first time I've used it, and so I'm getting used to it. Thankfully, I do have a refrigerator in my garage, So for anything like this that takes up a lot of space, I usually put it in the outside refrigerator, and then my inside refrigerator is for just our everyday items. The next morning, I started nice and early with canning after getting the kids off to school. And I want to thank everyone who commented in one of my previous videos and told me about these 4-jar lids. They seem to work much better than the mason jar lids that come with the jars. So I am going to go ahead and can a batch of this turkey stock. I'm starting to feel much more equipped with using this electric canner, and I really do appreciate all of the comments and feedback because I am quite new at canning, and so I have a lot to learn, but I'm happy to report that I had a successful canning session and all of my jars sealed properly, so that's super exciting to me. Okay, welcome back. I got my workout in this morning. My hair is still wet from my shower, but it's getting close to lunchtime, and my husband was really excited for me to make him a turkey sandwich, and I'm excited to show you guys. So I'm gonna pull out the ciabatta bread and show you how that turned out and make a couple of condiments, and let's assemble some amazing turkey sandwiches. I'm gonna start by making some mayo. So first I'm gonna crack a whole egg and put it in this jar. And then I'll squeeze in about a tablespoon or 2 of Dijon mustard, and then about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, salt to taste, and then I'll fill up that jar with avocado oil up to, you want about 3/4 cup of oil. So I'm just looking at the markings on the jar until it looks about right. I don't measure any of this because it almost always works beautifully, but I'm measuring this out first and setting it to the side so that egg can come to room temperature, because that does help when you're emulsifying it. So I'm putting some scraps in my scrap bag there and chopping up a red onion thinly. And I'm going to add this to the jar as well and create some quick pickled red onions. I think these are so good on sandwiches, and I like having them on hand. My eyes are not okay. Trying not to ruin the makeup I just put on, but you know, it is what it is. Fill your jar up about halfway with apple cider vinegar, and then season those onions with a little bit of salt and about a teaspoon of sugar. You can also just omit the sugar altogether. And then I'm gonna heat up some water in my electric kettle and pour very hot water over those onions and let them sit for about 30 minutes. And then after that, you can just store them in the fridge. And when that jar has some more space, I'll stuff those extra onions in there. I make these quick pickled red onions all the time. I think they're a great garnish on so many different things. And also the homemade mayo. So those are 2 I make on repeat. I'm cutting up a green apple. This is gonna go in my turkey sandwich, and I'm super excited about this. My ciabatta rolls have already been eaten into. My kids took 2 of them when they packed lunch today, so that's good news. But I think they turned out really pretty. They weren't like super soft. They're actually a little bit dense, but I'm okay with that. I thought for my first time making ciabatta, I'm pleased with it. And for the mayo, just kind of put your hand blender at the bottom of the jar and slowly work your way up, and it turns into mayo instantly. All right, I've I've got the white meat of the turkey here, which is our favorite, and especially for a turkey sandwich, I want to try to get the white meat. Not that it really matters, it's just my preference. So when I was pregnant with one of my kids, I believe it was my fourth, I went to a restaurant called Marlowe's Tavern, and they had this sandwich. And I was so hooked on this sandwich that I went home and tried to replicate it. So this is a version of that sandwich. It's basically like I actually don't remember what it's called, but it has pickled red onions, apples. They used chicken. I'm using turkey. And then mayo and arugula and provolone cheese. So that's what I'm making today. I think it's nice to toast your bread with a little bit of butter or mayo. They can kind of work interchangeably. And then I'm going to slather it with some more mayo. I'm sorry if you're not a mayo person. I definitely am. And then I already heated up this turkey, so I'm going to add some to each sandwich. And then I'll add some provolone on top and stick it in the toaster oven and get that cheese all melty. I kind of like this idea for a Thanksgiving leftover turkey sandwich because it's so different from your Thanksgiving dinner. By the time Thanksgiving is over, I feel like I'm over those flavors and I don't really want to be eating the same thing for days and days. So I like how this uses the leftover turkey, but it's very fresh and just completely different from those Thanksgiving flavors. Probably should have put the cheese. I mean, the apples underneath. Now that I think about it, so that they like get warm. I didn't think this through entirely. There is an art to making the perfect sandwich, if you ask me. Okay, I think that will work. All right, so do you remember when I was pregnant with Noah and we went to Marlowe's Tavern and I got a like chicken, apple, red onion, ciabatta sandwich thing and I was obsessed with it? That's what this is my version of it for turkey.
This looks amazing.
All right. Needs a little more mayo. I think I was being shy with the mayo because it felt like a lot, but honestly, it needs a lot of mayo. It needs that like.
I was trying to get everything
moisture.
in my bite.
Yeah.
So I took a huge bite. Hopefully that doesn't gross out.
Everyone. The ciabatta's not as soft as it should be.
I love it how it is.
Really?
The firm texture like really makes it more, gives it more something. I could eat this every day of my life. Love it.
That was a good bite. Thanksgiving leftovers, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a beautiful holiday, and I will see you next week.